Hello, I am Barendipitous with another video of for my TTRPG shelf. This time I've got the Burning Wheel fantasy role-playing system. So this was a game that this is a book that a friend of mine from college, said that I could have or maybe borrow. Like it's been a few years since I've seen him. I can't remember if he said have or borrow, but the next time I see him, I do plan on bringing this just to make sure. He wanted me to at least like sort of have this for a while to look over because he knew that I liked trying a bunch of different tabletop RPGs. And I have heard a few things about the Burning Wheel. I believe this game has been around for a little while. Copyright on this book, 2013. Okay, yeah, so at least 10 years. Unless this is not the first edition or printing or whatever. Some general things that I'm aware of in terms of Burning Wheel, from what I've heard from like some video reviews, is that this is a pretty like the sometimes when people talk about games, they talk about a game being rules light or light on rules or heavy on rules, and generally that means how complicated is it? Like how many pages are dedicated to rules? Like how complex are the rules? Is it easy to learn? Can you just read like one page and understand how to play it? That kind of thing. It sounds like this is a more rules heavy game. I have not run it or played this game. I've kind of perused through it a little bit. It looks interesting. It looks like kind of it looks in general it looks like an RPG for a standard like fantasy setting, although maybe a more low magic fantasy setting. So like Dungeons and Dragons is considered high fantasy, meaning that magic is just rampant. Magic is an everyday thing. You got giants and dragons and all kinds of things just everywhere. But low magic settings tend to be like I think if I'm not mistaken, things like The Princess Bride and Game of Thrones would probably be considered a bit on the low magic scale, where things are generally mundane, but there are still fantastical elements. And I think that's what Burning Wheel kind of focuses a bit more on. I have heard that if you ever wanted to run a Game of Thrones type campaign with a lot of like social and political intrigue and like dealing with various factions and kingdoms, that Burning Wheel is a one of the best, if not the best, systems to do it. To do that, because there are a lot of rules for like you know social combat, like debates and arguments, various kinds of like physical and verbal combat, and adventuring, exploring, and that kind of thing. There's a lot going on here. Um, yeah, items and equipment and skills and stuff like that. It's also my understanding that creating a character in the Burning Wheel focuses a lot on your character's like goals and desires and ideals. Like your character's beliefs are brought more to the forefront in this game than in many other games, which I think is neat. And I would be interested in a duel of wits. Yeah. Argument, not mind control. So yeah, statement of purpose, body of argument. Like this is like these are rules for like debates and arguments and stuff. And I think that is really cool, right? Um, so I'm intrigued by this game. I tend to avoid like heavier rules games. Sometimes uh, I think the games that I have played in the past that have had the heaviest that have been the heaviest in terms of rules. I guess Dungeons and Dragons can be fairly heavy on rules, although I kind of consider that a bit more on the medium side. Um, I kind of see. So I played Pathfinder first and second edition. Just played, not run, and I've had a hard time just wrapping my head around like the crunch of Pathfinder. When I say crunch, that word is generally used for in games to kind of refer to like number crunching, like kind of like referring to various like spreadsheets and figuring out okay, you grapple, like what do you grapple with, how do you grapple them, and things like that. and I sense I sense a decent amount of crunch here as well, which I tend to avoid because with Pathfinder First and Second Edition, as well as there's a Warhammer 40k TTRPG I've played called Wrath and Glory that I've also played, and a couple of times, and then maybe some other Warhammer TTRPGs, um, and yeah, sometimes it's like I like tactical games, especially like board games or video games. Like I enjoy things like Fire Emblem, and in terms of board games, I love Gloomhaven. But when it comes to tabletop RPGs, I don't know. I tend to like narrative. I tend to like more of a narrative focus, and also as a game master, I tend to be more improvisational and focus on narrative development a bit more. Although I do, of course, enjoy combat and things like that. But I am intrigued by the by various ideas in the burning wheel. And I think this game is called that because this wheel is supposed to sort of represent the way that you're like building your character, like you're sort of like burning through it or burning through different spokes in it or something. Like there's some like meaning to this particular like wheel with these particular spokes and whatever. I do like the way this book looks. It can be hard to read in certain lighting, of course, uh, but I think it's cool. I like this cool sort of golden cover, and yeah, I'm you know if the opportunity presented itself, I'd be interested in learning how to either play or run at least a short adventure in this game, if not a campaign. So I mean, a campaign would be cool too. Um, but yeah, that's what I've got about the Burning Wheel. Um, a, something that intrigued me from what I've heard, but I will admit I'm a little intimidated because I and most of the players that I play with, most of the people that I play TTRPGs with, also tend to not be that into like heavier, crunchy like systems. But we'll see. I'm glad to have this for now, and yeah, next time I see that the friend who let me borrow this, you know, if he wants it back, I'll give it to him. But if he wants me to keep it, then I'll keep it essentially. But I'm happy to like. I've been enjoying looking over it every once in a while so far. So, but yeah, that's all I've got here. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, all the best.